What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I've decided today to tackle one of the hardcore retro gaming community's biggest questions: the Framemeister versus a PVM. Now, really quick, if you're not familiar with what these two products are, you're probably in the wrong video, but I'll just outline them very briefly, just for the sake of it. So, when it comes to playing retro games and retro consoles on modern TVs, naturally, they output a very low quality signal, obviously, compared to modern TVs, which are designed for 1080p, designed for 4K, or hell, maybe they're even one of those brand new 8K TVs. But anyway, the point is, the image scaling and processing in these TVs by default is extremely poor when it comes to handling low quality, low resolution signals like these. And generally, if you try to plug them directly in, hell, if they'll even connect in, because a lot of modern TVs don't even have analog inputs. But when you put them in, if you can, they do look extremely rough. They don't look like that glorious old retro game that you know and loved from the 1980s and the 1990s. So there are multiple different ways around this to use your old original consoles, because let's face it, everyone loves playing on original hardware, at least I know I do. And there are products designed to help you alleviate some of the problems and some of the quality concerns when using this old hardware on modern TVs and panels. Probably the most popular and what is generally considered the highest quality one is the Framemeister. Essentially, the Framemeister is a little box with lots of different inputs, so you can hook up various different consoles through whatever different connections you have available. And this little processing unit will process the very, very low resolution standard definition signal you're passing into it. It will process it, scale it properly, and apply all different types of magic to it, and output it in up to 1080p for your modern TV or screen. Of course, this is all scaled and processed properly, so you get generally what is considered a much appropriate image for a high resolution screen. Probably like myself, many of you out there love that razor sharp, jagged, 90-degree pixel edge from those 8 and 16-bit systems that we all know and love so much. And while something like the Framemeister can give you the best available picture quality on modern high-definition screens, for some people, that's not enough. For some people, they prefer to play on, well, like I said, original hardware. And some people will opt for a professional-grade video monitor, otherwise known as a PVM. You can also find them listed in different models as BVMs, because you've got broadcast video monitors. Of course, there are multiple different manufacturers and models and whatnot out there. There's plenty of different research you can do to find out which one is right for you, and the advantages, the pros and cons of each one. But real quick, we'll take a look, generally, at the idea behind using a PVM or a BVM. And the main advantage to this, or at least one of the many advantages to this, is these are standard definition screens. These are screens with, I hesitate to use the term resolution because, well, old school consoles and how analog signals and whatnot, they generally didn't handle resolution as we know it today, but you get the idea. It's close enough to what they were originally designed for and their hardware within. And because the original application of these monitors was for pure, proper, unfiltered, raw image quality, they don't have any of this extra processing. They don't have any of these image enhancers. They have raw picture quality in its best possible form in an analog format. That's what these are designed for. And of course, if you want to live your retro days of yore, you probably grew up playing these consoles on a nice small, or maybe even a nice big, tube CRT TV. You got your scan lines, you got your curved edges, your whatever it is. There's all those little extra pieces that may not make the picture, but they may not break the picture. Now, as you've probably noticed so far, of course, I can't really use a comparison video footage in here, so I'm just settling with some NES Mini stuff in the meantime. Because while I could record something through the Framemeister, I wouldn't have something comparative to show it off because of using it on a PVM. So let's look at some of the pros of both of these real quick. First off, we'll talk about the Framemeister. The main advantages that the Framemeister has are generally it's considered the best upgraded picture quality on modern flat screen panels, be it a PC monitor or a TV. Of course, high-definition flat-screen TVs at this point are a dime a dozen. Many people have several of them in their home, and it's just so much easier and so much more convenient. It's kind of a catch-all box as well because of the multiple different inputs, so many different settings and whatnot you can do. For example, if you want to play some maybe 8 or 16-bit sprite-based games, you can tweak and customize the settings to get the best picture quality out there. Meanwhile, you might be using Component or something like that for maybe something a bit newer like a PS2 or an OG Xbox 180, where you've got 3D based games, which might require a bit of fine tuning to get a little bit of a better picture quality when it comes to that. And it's also extremely convenient because not only is it a very small little box with multiple different inputs, but it can also be used with your modern TVs. You don't need any additional space really, except for, the space for the tiny little box. But again, it is a very, very small little box. And it would basically slide right in anywhere in any entertainment center or where anyone puts their games consoles and whatnot too. So it's very, very convenient in those regards. And then we'll go back for a second and look at the professional broadcast monitors of some type. Now, typically when you're looking at the PVMs and BVMs, there's really only one main advantage to these. Because not only are they big, are they bulky, are they heavy, are they relatively rare and somewhat expensive, the only real advantage they give is the picture and image quality. These will basically display these original signals from these old school analog consoles in its best possible original form. Scan lines, screen bloom, everything is still there. And you may be thinking, wait a minute, Q, that's really the only proper advantage to a PVM? Basically, yes. You're just looking at the absolute best image quality you can get for standard definition, shown on what it's designed to be shown on. So of course the big question is, what do I recommend out of the two of these? Now I'm going to cheap out on this one because I'm going to give you my actual proper recommendation, but I'm also going to break it down into the two different recommendations, if you will. First off, I will just say flat outright that I will say if there are no concerns or no worries or no questionable factors or variables or anything in there, I will personally absolutely 100% recommend a professional grade video monitor. Absolutely. This is the best possible way that I enjoy my old retro games. I prefer to use original hardware as much as possible. Not only for a more authentic experience, but because, like I mentioned earlier as well, that these monitors, these screens, these consoles, these are designed to be played on these to an extent because, well, standard definition output, but they're the best possible forms you can get from the original ones. I have plenty of RGB SCART cables or component cables that I can pop in, straight in, connect into my BNC adapters, and boom, I get RGB signals onto this PVM. They look absolutely fantastic. It looks perfect, like it's just designed to be. However, I realize I'm not your average consumer. I'm not your average retro gamer. I go a bit hardcore. And that's why, even at the same time, I can recommend for most people that the Framemeister will likely be the way to go. If you can find yourself a good PVM or a good BVM, if you don't mind the bulk, the size, the expense, the space, maybe having to replace a couple of extra cables and whatnot too. If you don't mind all that and you're okay and happy to do it, I highly recommend you go that route. However, of course, I'm not saying that the Framemeister is bad in any way. I've had mine for just over a year now and I've got plenty of use out of it. But I can understand why someone may shy away from a PVM or BVM. So chances are, for most people watching this video, I can probably definitely recommend you the Framemeister. I would say the vast majority of retro gamers out there want the best possible image quality on a modern flat panel. And that's where the Framemeister will do you top notch. So hopefully this helped you in some way, shape or form. Hopefully it informed you a little bit better. I highly suggest you do some more research as well because there are many, many, many people out there with videos that go into minute detail about all of this. But hopefully this shed a little bit of a personal experience on there too. So let me know in the comments section below if this video has been helpful in any way to you, if you were considering getting one or the other, if you would prefer one or the other, or if you have one or the other and what's your experience with them. Let me know all that good stuff in the comments section below. Hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video, and while you're at it, why not head on over and hit the subscribe button and even ring the little notification bell. Granted, getting a notification from YouTube in current year about a new video upload or a live stream or whatever is a whole other story, but hey, at least you can say you tried, am I right? as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the rest of the videos in my channel.